Type it in your calculator. I forgot what it was. So we have negative 24 minus 12i minus 18i minus 9i squared. They can do that. This becomes negative 24 plus 9, so that's negative 15 minus 30i all over 45. And you'll notice that you can be able to simplify everything out by a 5. Very good. Oh yeah, 15, excuse me. Thank you. So it's negative 1 minus 2i all over 3. Yes, you can. I forgot what it was, so that's why I just did it by hand. So that's how we did those. Factoring. Isn't that fun?
Factoring.
Today I have to
I'm sure some of you guys might have gotten through some of these by now. Is there anyone in particular you want to double check, or the style that you had forgotten that you want to go over again? What do you got, sir?
Can we just can you show me how to do number 10 again?
Yeah.
I know they're both
If you look at 10, is the first term a perfect square?
yeah.
Is the last term a perfect square?
And the minus sign.
So all three of those work, which means you get 3x minus 1, 3x plus 1, and go to the next problem.
Okay. I didn't know if we had to
You don't have to do anything else with this because you see an equal sign anywhere.
Nope.
So you're done.
Wow.
Bada bing, bada boom.
I'm tired. I drank some coffee. Well, you probably were working for like an hour. Now you're like.
What else we got? What have you guys gotten to that you didn't like?
I didn't get to any of it.
Hold up, let me find it.
Which one?
45.
Sketch the graph of 45.
Check in your
Well, it just so happens that you have to have this fancy thing right here. Should you ever get a graph problem wrong?
You're just probably will.
And that's the idea here. Because you're right. I never let you guys use the calculator, so when you get to finals, when you can't use calculators, you guys start to go, wait, I can use a calculator? Right, because I don't like using calculators. Now, I will say one thing, as we get into second semester, once we get, there's a couple of parts in logarithms, in exponential growth, exponential decay, that we have to have a calculator because we have to solve some like principal and interest style problems. You have to be able to use a calculator for that. But after we get through that and we go to the graphing and the simplifying, and then we start with trig, you probably won't use a calculator for a while.
All dramatic.
Well, I was trying to be dramatic, but I'm very good at it. My acting skills aren't up to par.
That's right.
So yeah, in this case here, you know that what the tails are going to do with it being a positive first term with a cubic function. The tails are going to be, your dance is going to be that, and then you just go from there. Let's see. One of the things that I have seen that people forgot was, how do you work with rational zeros? I'm looking at maybe like number 41. To state all possible rational zeros. When you're stating all possible rational zeros, what are you doing?
What number is this?
Oh, I thought you were talking about
41?
Thank you. When you're stating all the rational zeros, you're finding all the factors of the tail divided by all the factors of the front term. So the factors of the tail here are 1, 2, 11, 22, all over 1 and 2, plus minus. And now the idea is that you have a calculator. And remember how I was making you guys do this by hand? You have to go through your list to say start with 1, negative 1, find the first zero. Yeah, you're using your synthetic. In this case, I'm going to go right to my calculator, go to my y equals, I'm going to put in that function.
Oh my God.
2x cubed
Yeah,
plus
do for all
7
calculator stuff.
x squared plus 17x plus 22. And I'm going to look at the graph right away. Oh, I saw it cross the x-axis. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
So that means it had a 0, probably about -2. So let's check it. Second table. And it looks as if I have a 0. Verified. I have a 0 at -2. Are you okay with that? So when you go to use synthetic, what are you going to start with? -2. Because you know it has to work. And that's the idea of being able to use the calculator. So you use -2, 2, 7, 17, and 22. So it's x. If -2 is my 0, what's my term? Very good. So it's x plus 2. Oops. X plus 2 is the term. And then my next part is 2x squared plus 3x plus 11. Okay. Now in your head, you can probably figure the rest of this out. What times what's 22 you add together to get 3? Nothing.
Got me.
And you're done. So your other 0, your only other 0 in this case would have been at -2. Right? The idea of being able to go back and forth from the calculator to synthetic allows you to find things faster. Okay? A lot faster. I just gave you guys all the stuff to do as your head first, because that's how I roll. What do you want?
Now it's just so much
You
easier.
can do it divided by 2, the answers also, like, minus 1/2. Oh, wait, no,
Those are just the possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be such a good team.
Yep. No. A couple ways of going about it. If my 0 was -3/5, and it's a least degree, one of the ways to get -3/5 as a term, this is 37. Now, if that was one of my 0s, if you work backwards from this, then you would have had subtract 3 divided by 5. That's one way to have it. Yeah. Or the other one would have been just x plus 3/5. Because if I said either one of those equal to 0, my 0 would be -3/5. Does that make sense when you have that fraction in there?
Yeah.
So what happens here is that they're asking you to write a polynomial with least degree. That just means how many zeros are there that they give you in the problem? There's 3 of them, right? So what's the least degree you can have? 3. So if they give you 3 zeros that are fractions, for example, -3/5, -4/3, -3/2, if your first term coefficient isn't 1, that means that they did this, 5x plus 3, subtract 3 divided by 5. If they didn't have it as 1, it was just x plus 3/5. Does that make sense? Because by doing it this way, there's 2 different ways of writing this 0. It could have been term. The term 5x plus 3 would give me the 0 of -3/5 if I solve for x. Also, the term x plus 3/5 would work as well. And I can do that for all 3 of those fractions. The other one would have been at 3x plus 4, or x plus 4/3. And the last one would have been 2x plus 3. And then so if my multiple choice answers are coming up with, if you FOILed all this out, you're going to have an x cubed, right? You'd also wind up, let's see, it'd be when you multiply things through, you'd have 5 times 3, which would be 15, then eventually you'd have 15 times 2. That first term is, if you have one of the options being a 30, it used it as a two-part piece, as opposed to the first term is 1. Does that make sense how? Well,
Does it matter which one?
it depends on what the multiple choice part is, because it's a multiple choice. Well, then you start looking at, all right, what are the options we give you as far as the fractions? If there are fractions, then you're probably dealing with this. If there are no fractions, you're dealing with this. Then you're screwed. All right, and this is a good question. What if there are both? Well, then all you do is you put it in you put that function, whatever they give you, in your calculator, and you substitute in -3/5, -4/3, -3/2 for x 3 different times and see if you get 0 each time. If you do, it wins. You just work backwards. What was the answer they gave you for this problem for 37?
F of x equals 30.
They told me my answer is going to be 30. One of the options was 30x cubed, 103x squared, 111x, and a 36.
Or you just substitute in.
Well, sorry. In my head then, if I'm just looking at it in terms of, well, if the fractions were being used, I would not get this. But if the whole numbers are being used, I would. And I wouldn't need to really even multiply a lot of it out because I can look at my tails. All 3 of these guys are positive, correct? The +3, +4, +3. When you're foiling all of that out, eventually you're going to do 3 times 4, and then you're going to take that times 3, aren't you? 3 positives put together is going to give you a positive 36 with a tail. 5 times 3 times 2 is going to give you a positive 30 for the front end. There's little tricks and things that you can work yourself through when you're taking a multiple choice test. You can not know the answer, but know how to get to an answer that makes sense. That's the trick of multiple choice. You look for the plausibility before you throw out the ones that won't work. Alicia. Okay. Careful, those are heavy. There's a joke.
Not a funny one.
I'll get over it. Okay? Does that make a little bit of sense on 37? A lot of times when you deal with, and I can't stress this enough, the answer's in front of you, and you just got to figure out which one it is. Pretty much. I don't know if I ever told you guys, well actually I haven't told you guys, we haven't had a final in here. Some of you guys didn't have me last year, you heard this. Seb and I, a couple of years ago, took the geometry final. We had somebody erase all the questions, and we just looked at the answers. And we took our time to figure out what answers, because when you're looking at it, you have 4 possibilities in a group. No, I'm serious.
How do we know
Which
it?
question?
We threw out the questions, and we just looked at the answers. And we went through and took the test just by looking at answers.
Probably got.
I think we got B's. I think it was with a curve, we got a B.
Oh, is there a curve?
With the curve.
Well, we curved it on the geometry one. I don't know. I haven't given this final yet. That's another fun.
Well, if you don't do good, then.
That's okay.
I know. If we curve it, I've got someone over here.
Alright, so basically, don't look at the question.
Right. And then on 39, it says the multiplicity of 2. So it was there twice. Oh, I'm sorry. Which number were you looking at? 39? Yeah. Oh, on 38 it says -3/2 multiplicity of 2, comma, and then there's a 2. So it would be -3/2, -3/2. What else we got, guys?
Wait, my question is like, using the whole like x plus like all the fractions or like the other way, but then how are you supposed to get that as an answer?
Foil it out.
All 3 of them?
Yeah.
Okay. That's me neither.
Like 42? 42. Hey, this looks a lot like the question you guys had on your chapter 9 or whatever one test. I think I used this question on a test.
Thanks.
What's the first rule of factoring?
Grouping.
GCF.
GCF.
I want a group.
Well, I want a GCF at first. Well, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I got the right answer.
Okay. I see X's in all of it, and I think of GCF. But Cole's right. In this case here, you've got 4 terms, and he looked at it, he goes, hey, I bet you can group it, and he's right. You go plus minus. Now do your GCF, take out the X cubed, you have an X plus 4.
I think you end up having to have an extra step though.
Take out the next negative 2? I don't think so. Or negative 2x, then you have an X minus, or excuse me, X plus 4. So now you have, yeah, you would have that extra step, because if I took the GCF out front, you just got to take it out later.
Yeah.
Hold on.
And then you can like get rid of the X in the first one.
Yeah. And now when you're finding all your roots here, you're going to have one at 0.
Minus 2.
Plus minus root 2. Yeah, so you have 0 plus minus root 2 and negative 4 for your 4 possible zeros. And what are the tails dancing?
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Up, up, 4.
Positive.
Again.
Like the negative ones.
For like the exponent gets a first, is that usually neither?
Fundamental rule of algebra states that whatever degree it has, you should have that many among the complex system. You should be, yes. Whether they're imaginary or not. So a fifth degree could have 5. Sometimes you only have 3 that are real.
What time do you guys leave?
You don't ever, you can never have 4 zeros in the hand.
10:45 to get our class.
Some of you guys made that mistake a few times. I think you did.
Less than an hour.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Kevin bringing up a good point here. When it says state all zeros, you're saying everything, including imaginaries. If it says real zeros, skip the imaginary. You can think about them. Don't think about them too long. As your life coach, you should be laughing more often.
That was just fake.
Sir.
What question?
43.
Yeah. How do you guys skip?
First thing, GCF.
How do you guys not know?
X cubed, is that a perfect cube? Is 64 a perfect cube?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So now you have to use that difference, sum of cubes. So you have x, let's see, this would be x plus 4, x squared minus 4x plus 16, I think?
No, it's plus.
I thought it was plus plus.
Oh,
No, there's.
it's always going to wind up as a plus. The middle one is what changes. It should be plus minus plus, because if it was minus, this would be minus plus plus.
See.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
you're right.
probably right.
Yeah.
You have a book.
It's plus
Always
minus.
trust
It's
the
plus
math
minus.
teacher.
That's what I had, right?
Yeah, I just.
Because I know that the trinomial is generally not factorable. So you have real zeros then at 0 and negative 4.
What about the? But then it's fine.
Oh, for all roots then you use quadratic. So you have x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I have 16 minus 72. Right? Yeah, 32, or 74, excuse me. It'd be 30, because it's 32 doubled, so it'd be 64. Let me try that again.
How did you?
So 16 minus 64, right? Alright. Is negative 38 or 28? 48. How do I simplify the square root of negative 48? I bet you remember. That sets the sarcasm from over there. So what is that? 4 plus or minus 4I root 3? 2, I think? And what can I do with the 2?
Divide it. Multiply it.
I have to go to both parts though, okay? This is the common denominator, so you wind up with 2 plus or minus 2I. That gives you your 4 roots.
I know. Forgot everything. I'm just hoping this conclusion gives me all this. That's what you're looking for. Oh, there.
Oh, yeah, just 2 minus. Oh, yeah.
Excuse me.
Wait,
Yes, ma'am.
isn't it like minuses and pluses don't count? Like, this one like
I don't know.
they don't. So it's like 81, so if you get 80, it's the same as 89. And on a GPS. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Bless you.
Alright. So like an 80 is the same as an 89.
I don't know.
Okay. So I gotta get it.
You can show up and not even do anything.
I know, I can just look at the answer.
Get half.
Yeah.
Hey, don't do that because that won't ever work. Because there was a time when there was I've had a student or two in the past 10 years or so that have not really cared about what their grade was going to wind up being on the final. And they have just kind of written down all the answers.
Yeah, that's just,
Did they fail?
Hey, let's find the conic and generic form by completing the square a whole bunch. Yeah! Let's rock out with our bad selves here.
It's a video on like Instagram. I sent it to Rebecca, but then like just be something where like I like school this.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not really all that great.
Kind of that one. That's so funny. You have to.
First thing you want to do is start grouping stuff around.
Unusual,
Before I start doing my completing the square, I'm going to get the GCFs out. I'm going to take 16 out.
Give you 16x.
28 is that.
You got 16x.
I'm completing the square.
Oh.
So I'm just pulling this. I'm just pulling the coefficient out. Remember, when you complete the square, you want your leading term coefficient to be 1. Let's see, 288 divided by 16 is be 1. Is it 18? Thank you. Put my plus blank in.
Oh.
That's what it
Now I
is.
remember.
Minus 9
Alright.
y squared minus 2y plus blank equals 9 plus 16 times something minus 9 times something else.
Wait for you to. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, nuts, I'm not having
What's half of 18?
9.
Square it. So the half of this part drops here, you square it, you add it over, and you bring it back here. What's half of negative 2? Negative 1 squared is?
12 minus.
So now 9 minus 9 is 0. Way to go. Thank you.
Did not know that.
I didn't know where it was.
Life is hard. Equals, I'm thinking of a number that starts and ends in the 6.
6.
And then, well, never mind.
You try.
Thanks.
1 plus 2 times 2.
Okay, so this looks like it'll be a hoot.
I'm running out of room. Yeah, I'm done with that. This is right. Oh my goodness.
What it have to be? I don't know, what is that? Yes, sir.
Number that you put for blank, just take half the second, like the 18x squared. Alright.
Half of it and square it, yeah.
Okay, what?
What's 60 over 1296? 81? Well, that's convenient.
Yeah.
Duh. Oh, yeah, it's right there. Thank you. Never mind.
Jeez Louise.
And then it'll be y minus 1
Is this the last one or is
squared.
there more?
What is it? 144?
I said it first.
So it's a hyperbola.
Oh, it's an ancient.
It's a hyperbola. And if you recall, you have a button on your calculator that tells you direction and all that kind of stuff with the hyperbola.
Tell us again anyway.
Hit the button that says apps.
Oh, I don't
There's
have
more
this,
to
remember?
this?
Oh, that's right. Because didn't you get it to upload or no?
No, it's not. I gave you the card.
Go to maps.
Conics. And so which one came first, the X or the Y?
The X.
The X came first, which means it's going to be going left, right. Because the picture tells me so.
Oh, you go. I thought you were saying you have.
So I have an H value of negative 9, a K value of 1. Therefore, my center is at negative 9 and 1. A squared is 81. B squared is 144. C squared is going to be something else. When you're trying to find the value of C, are you adding between the two or are you subtracting the A squared and the B squared?
Subtracting.
You're adding in the hyperbola. You're adding to the hyperbola because the hyperbola has a subtraction symbol in it. Therefore, when you do your A squared, B squared, it's the opposite sign. Okay? You just now remember that, didn't you, Cody? Oh. So you add these things together, and I think you get 225. It's nice when they give you clean numbers. So your A value is plus minus 9, B is plus or minus 12, C plus or minus 15. The value of A was always the distance from your center to where? Vertex. Very good. Your B was your center to the, and your C is the center to. Good. Yes, ma'am.
Wait, aren't all the questions on the second one?
Yeah.
Just gotta remember this.
And then you could also answer the question here: how do you write the equation of the slant asymptote as well?
It's Y equals. The opposite. What time do we get out of this house?
When you have the vertex, remember when you have that vertex, this was the trick. Your vertex is out at negative 9 and 1. Okay, we'll say it's negative 9 and 1. Yeah, your easiest thing to do is to walk our A value is distance from your center to your vertex. I just go over 9. And then my co-vertex goes up 12, which means when I draw the box, this value here is at 0, 13. That's my other point. I can get the slope between those two pretty easily.
Well, that's why it's like really convenient, honestly.
It is. But remember, once you remember that your vertex, is going to be on the same horizontal line or vertical line, depending upon what direction it's going, it works pretty quick. Okay? Yay! What's wrong, Caitlin? You're getting mad at me right now. What else so far has been on here that's been driving you to the persnickety-ness?
What's a float later, once I finish the pack?
I don't remember these words.
Tuesday?
This is from the center. Try and get through as much as you can. What I'm going to do is go through the some of the test stuff, guys. What I'm going to do is go through some of the test stuff that we've done, and I made notes on things that I wanted to reiterate as far as questions that were majority missed on quizzes and tests from earlier this semester. And I got a list of them that I'm going to go through with you guys come Monday and Tuesday as well. So I've got a couple extra problems that aren't on here that I'm just going to kind of re-show. As you go through these, if there's going to be particular sections that you forgot or running to go back and double check, just your best bet is to kind of go through the chapter review stuff and kind of look at, okay, do I remember how to do this, blah, blah, blah. That way at least you know what section it's in and kind of review. I don't know. I told you final's only 50 questions, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to flip the Scantron.
Wish everything
Want to make
wanted.
it easier.
So you
That's
said
for us.
I have 2 finals and 150 questions.
Yes.
Spanish.
Anatomy and Spanish. Both 150 questions.
When it's birthday.
I had to fail both of those.
Same.
They're back to back.
It's on the back. I didn't get it. Sorry.
Anatomy was big.
Oh, that's a big one.